A war for content is raging online with big implications for everyone from Apple to Yelp. Miriam Gottfried, my Heard on the Street colleague, joins us now. Miriam, good morning.
Good morning.
So you got a great story in Heard today. And we're talking about Google, Apple, Amazon. These are the big guys, but there are also some little guys where there's some implications for them. What kind of content are the big guys really fighting over today?
Well, I mean, it's everything from maps, which that's been really in the news a lot with
Google Maps,
with Google Maps and the new iOS
on the iPhone. Those maps are terrible.
Yeah, I
haven't used them; they're terrible.
And to music, we have Apple reports that Apple is starting a competitor to Pandora, a music streaming service, and then we have video streaming as well, with Amazon signing a deal with Epix, which some saw as a blow to Netflix, and it goes on and on. With Yelp, Google has pushed pretty far into local reviews.
They bought Zagat, you mentioned,
right?
Frommer's Travel Guides. Why is this so important? What's really behind this fight? Because you got to, why is content really valuable for Apple, for Google, for Amazon?
So they've built up their hardware platforms or their software platforms or their search platforms or wherever is their core area of their business, and they need to defend that. And they need to do anything they can to keep people within their ecosystems, because everybody else has a competing hardware or software platform, and if you lose a user to the Google world and your Apple, you feel threatened by that, and you want to keep everyone within your ecosystem, and the content is a way to reel people in.
If you got big cash piles, you might. This is an easy thing to spend it on to protect a larger business.
Exactly.
It's had really differing implications for some of these smaller companies, Yelp, Netflix. Their stocks have been, at least over the past year or so, they haven't necessarily gone in the same direction. Yelp had a great IPO. Its stock is still up. Netflix, of course, is way down from its highs. So really, what are the implications for some of these small tech players? Is it maybe an opportunity for companies like Yelp? Maybe their takeout targets are...
Yeah, I mean, that it is potentially an opportunity, but what would have to happen is the larger company would have to see value that they couldn't add on their own. And these, Apple, Google, Microsoft, they've got tons of cash. They can use it to build their own systems from the ground up. And they would have to decide that, say, Pandora's music genome project, the proprietary technology behind that is worth something.
Yeah. And that's a good point with Apple, for instance. And you mentioned they've got a new music service, of course, that would theoretically compete with Pandora.
Right, exactly. So they would have to, it turns out, in this case, it seems that Apple decided not to buy Pandora and instead to build its own service. And that might happen more and more, and it may, for the consumer, it may be a negative. It may be a downside, because, as we see with the maps. It may be these companies deciding, we'll build our own service, and maybe it won't be quite as good as what these startups are offering, but we can do it for cheaper.
Strategically, it's important because for Apple, they want to control iOS, the whole user experience inside the iPhone. And Google Maps, which is a great product, has always been the location tool that you use inside an iPhone. But Apple really wanted to take that control back, and maybe in the early going, it's backfiring. Yeah,
I mean, it is, but the question is it backfiring enough to even matter for Apple? And some say no.
It'll be interesting. I wonder if Google's actually going to come up with their own app, their own Maps app for the iPhone and put it out there, because maybe they should just hold it back and say, hey, go buy an Android phone, you'll get better maps.
Well, I think they're trying to sort of wait and see. I mean, it seems like there's this period of, maybe they're working on an app, but they're maybe trying to see, whether this drives people initially to the Android.